Oops.
Help yourself to a piece of Danish when you wear it.
That's a not. Okay. Kumbhishan Rashi. Welcome, folks. We continue. Fourth reading. We're double portion. We now go from, well, we'll go in a few moments from Acharei-Kedoshim. Let us continue.
Again, double portion.
Why is it green here? Let's refresh. Okay. What are you seeing? Seeing the. Okay. We are chapter 18, verse 22. Something that is okay. But if you look at Restream, see how it's blank. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. A male may not lie down with a male as a woman. This is an abomination. This is where Torah states clearly, and I know that a lot of people have a difficulty with this, but Torah says this, that a man with a man is an abomination.
And the problem is?
No problem.
Oh, okay.
No. People have a problem.
And the problem is?
People. People are a problem. And with all animals, do not lie down with either. Right? It says fornication over here, but literally means to lie down. But that's the Torah speaking in a clean language. The tamaba, to become defiled in it, through it. A woman should not stand in front of a to copulate. This is considered depravity.
That's what they used to do in Egypt and in Canaan.
Yeah. So Rashi in 23. It's a perversion. It is a degradation. Lashon kodesh. It's an kodesh. It's an expression of harlotry. Ve'erva and nakedness. V'niyuv and adultery. V'chein api al tablisam. And my wrath over their perversion. Davar acher. Alternatively, tevel hu lashon. Blila, tevel means a mixture, irvuv, mingling. Zera adam, the seed of man, zera behema, the seed of an animal. Verse 24. Altitma b'chol ela, do not be defiled, impure through all of this. Ki b'chol ela, because in all of this, they became impure, the nations. Asher ani meshalech mipneichem, that I am sending them away from before you. The titma aretz, and the land became impure. The efkoi the avina, and the efkei the avina aleha, and I have efkei. Say brought the account. Yeah, okay. Brought the account upon them. aleha upon them. V'taka haaretz is yeshveha, and it spit out or vomited the land, its inhabitants, those that dwelled on the land. V'shmartem hayatem, and you should heed and guard, safeguard you. Eschel kaisai, my statutory laws, mishpatai, and my ordinances. Lo sasu mikol ha'to'evas ha'ela, do not do from all of these abominations. Ha'ezrach, the native, ha'ger ha'gar and the convert who dwells amongst you. Ki is called Taivas Ha'el, also Anshe Haaretz, Asher Alifnechem Etitmo Aretz. Because of these abominations, they were done by the people of the land, Asher Lifnechem, that's before you, Etitmo Aretz, and it defiled the land. And the land will not spit you out, vomit you out or spit you out, right? When you become impure, when you impurify the land, and by acting this way. As the nations were spit out, vomited from before you. Rashi in 28, that the land vomited you out. Mashal ben Melech, this can be buried to the son of the king. That they whom they fed something repulsive, they could not stay in his stomach, but rather he vomits it out. Israel. Similarly is the land of Israel. Because it's holy, so therefore it cannot abide to transgressors. As Onkelos translates, that it should that should be not emptied out. Mirika atma mehem should not empty you out of on the land, meaning expel you from the land.
The prince is Israel.
Yeah. Now we're sensitive. Why? Because of being God's people. So we're sensitive to doing things that are against the ways of God. Because all those who will do from these abominations, they will be cut off from the midst of my people. Rashi implies both male and female, right? Because it says it doesn't say hanefesh, which is singular form. It says nefashos, which is plural form. So it means, Rashi says, male and female, right? Okay. Nishmarte, and you should safeguard my charge, my levilti ases mechukas, to withhold from doing from any statutory laws that are an abomination. That were done before you, and you should not become impure by him through them. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am Hashem your God. So obviously this is repetitive. So Rashi picks up on it, and he says in 30, Mishmartim is Mishmarti, that you should safeguard my charge, Lahazir based, and this is now the court, Al-Kaf, that they are now given, yeah. And as the court has to implement this law, safeguard that should not be done.
We take it for granted a lot of this stuff today.
Take it for granted. What do you mean?
I mean, like before Egypt and Canaan, this was weird stuff that they were doing.
Like today,
we don't do this weird stuff.
Like today, today is the same thing. It's being done today, right?
Some places, I guess, yeah.
I mean, everywhere. Homosexuality is everywhere.
Bestiality?
Bestiality, not as much. Yeah. Obviously, not as much, but it's still, it exists. It exists. It's not as common, but homosexuality is very common.
Okay.
And do not impurify yourself. I am Hashem, your God. That if you will impurify yourselves through this, I'm not your God. And you become unfit to be my followers. What benefit, what pleasure do I have from you? When you deserve annihilation. That's what it says. I am Hashem, your God. Yeah. In other words, we had this before that when God only said, I am God, Hashem, that's about reward. Elokechem is judgment. So here it's Hashem Elokechem, right? Both names, reward and punishment. Right? And both things. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we finished the first book. First parsha. Thank you. Now we're going to Kedoshim, the next one. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the entire congregation or community of the Israelites, and say to them, Kedoshim, holy, to you shall be. Why? Why should you be holy? Because I'm holy. Hashem Elokechem. Ani Hashem Elokechem. I'm Hashem your God. Again, that idea, right? I'm Hashem your God. Yeah. Okay. Rashi into to speak to the entire assembly of the children of Israel. This teaches Shenema Parsha that this Torah portion was said Bahakel at the gathering of the entire assembly of the Jewish people. Because it says the entire assembly. Why do we have to say that? Now there's other portions. It seems that not every portion that Moshe taught, the entire Jewish people were there. People could have been absent. Here, everybody had to be there. Okay? Kedoshim to you. You shall be holy. Have it perushim in our eyes. What does it mean to be holy? Remove yourself from inappropriate relationships. Right? Forbidden relationships. That's what it means. From sin. Whenever you find a restriction in sexual immorality mentioned in the Torah, you find juxtaposed to it holiness. Right? What was the end of what we just learned? Yesterday we had all the sexual relationships that were forbidden, and today also continued with that, right? Homosexuality, bestiality, and so on. Now now it says, be holy. In other words, holy means the same. Before it was staying away from the negative. Now it's telling us be positive, how to be positive in this area. How? Be holy. Sanctify yourself in holiness. And that's why it's juxtaposed. The Kohanim shall not marry a woman who's a zaina or a chalala. It goes on to say, Ani Hashem mikachchem, for I am God, I am holy, who sanctifies you. And after Torah says, Lo yichal zarei, Kohen should not defile his offspring by fathering a child from a woman forbidden to him to have relations with. Ani Hashem mikachchem, I am Hashem who sanctifies him. Kedoshim hiyu, and Kohanim should be holy. Isha zaina the chalala, meaning you should not marry someone who others could marry, but a Kohen can't marry. Interesting.
Is fear and honor the same word?
No, but come from a similar idea. Okay. 3. A man, his mother and his father, he should have fear. Tishmaru. And you should observe the Shabbos. Ani Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem, your God. Rashi, Ish v'imai. Right, this is honoring your parents. Ish, or not honoring, revere for your parents. Revere would be a good word. Respect, revere. Ish imavav tira'u mikol kol echad mikem. Every one of you, tira'u avivimai, you have to revere your father and your mother. Zel b'shuta. That's a simple meaning. Midrashay, what is it? Ein liyella ish. How do I know that a man, he has to revere his parents? Isha menayin. How do you know a woman has to? The verse says ish, which means man. How do you know a woman has to? Right? When it says plural that you shall revere, that means two. It means man and woman. If that's the case, then why does it say man? It should just say Imay va'aviv tira'u, right? Don't say man. So why does it say man? Sha'ish safi biyad because a man, generally speaking, has more the capability to perform this mitzvah. But a woman is subject to the authority of others upon her. This is back in the day when the subject of authority of a woman was her father and then her husband, right?
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Ain't too bad. Way back in the day. The good old days. Take out the garbage.
There's still something to that, by the way. There's still something to that.
No.
In an appropriate way, not in an appropriate way.
Seems the opposite way.
So you shall revere mother and father. Here in this verse, if you're being very careful and watching, it says mother before father. By the Ten Commandments, it says father before mother, the opposite. But there it's not speaking about, there it's speaking about honor. Here it's speaking about revere, as Rashi will point out. The fish go to Lefana because it's revealed before God. Shaben Yarez Aviv, that a son reveres his father, Yismimar, more than his mother. Therefore, the Torah places emphasis to revere your mother, right? And says mother first before father. I'll be covered, but in the Ten Commandments, regarding honoring parents, it prefaces the father before the mother. Why? Because God is fully aware that a son honors his mother more than he honors his father. Why? Because she wins him over with pleasant words and so on. Like she's warmer and nicer than the father. Again, as a generality, right? Every woman for that, she'll admit. The previous one, she won't admit. But this one, she will admit. In other words, you have to take one, you take the other. Don't take one, don't take the other. And you shall observe my Shabbos. Why is that brought in over here? Shabbos juxtaposes in the same verse the observance of Shabbos, the reverence of one's father, parents. To say, although I enjoin you, to have reverence for your father. If your father is going to say to you, Shabbos, desecrate Shabbos, don't listen to him. This is like with any other commandment. Right? Your father tells you, don't put on tefillin. Don't go to Chabad. Right? You don't listen to him. Why? Because you have to keep my Shabbos. Because father and son and daughter have to both keep my Shabbos.
So they hate those already.
Or Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. You and your father are both obligated to honor me. Lefigal, therefore, that's why you shouldn't listen to him. Levatel is right, to transgress my words. What constitutes reverence for a parent? Don't sit in his place, in your parents' place. Don't speak in your parents' place. Don't contradict your parents' words. But what does it constitute to honor your parents? Michael, you feed him, Mashkin, give him drink, Malbish, and dress him, Menal, put on his shoes, Machnis, and you escort him in. Right.
So the kids around the yeshiva, they practice this? Seems like they do. In the family, for their family,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. They revere.
So, okay. Verse 4. Al tifnu el lilim, don't turn towards idolatry. And gods of molten image, don't make for yourself. And Hashem Elokeichem, I am Hashem, your God. So al tifnu, do not turn to idolatry. Rashi in 4. Right, el lilim. Labzam, to worship them. Lilim lashon, is related to word to a god. Kiloi chashiv. Oh, it's related to the word not. Al. Not. In other words, an idolatry is considered a non-entity. It's a not. Okay. Hmm? Al. The word al, it's a elilim, right? So it's there's a word there, al, which means not, meaning it's a non-entity. It's a not. It's nothing. Huh? Well, it's not, yeah, only God exists. Right? Idolatry doesn't exist. Don't worship it, right? Because it's not a real existence. It's a non-entity.
Interesting.
Do not make for yourself. That means don't make for others. And others should make it for you. And if you will say that only means don't make for yourselves. But others could make it for you. Right? I guess others may be being here a non-Jew. Like a non-Jew could make for me. Right? I mean, no, I should. In other words, a non-Jew can make idolatry.
For you.
No, you can't do it for you.
But it's about what it says. Can't do it for you.
Right. But you might think that others could. But it's already been said that you should not have. It implies neither yours, the others that you have made yourself, or others that have made it for you. It's both. Okay. Keys is when you slaughter a peace offering to God, you must slaughter it in such to attain my favor for you.
That's a jump.
Yeah, totally. Let's see if Rashi picks up on it. He says, when you slaughter, this portion only comes to teach us. We learned a lot about that last week's portion, right? But when it came to Yom Kippur, and then after Yom Kippur, we went into details about regular, right, offerings, right? Like that you should not slaughter peace offering should only be an intent that it should be eaten within a specific time. If the verse only means to fix a time period of eating it, to set a time limit within which it must be eaten, it's already been said. We learned this in last week's parsha. No, not last week. Sorry. Parshas Tzav. Right. In other words, it's coming. Excuse me. Surely, when there was but the first the fixed time period of eating. So that we already learned. Okay. Okay, you shall slaughter it to appease for you. Meaning, at the beginning of slaughtering, it should be with a condition, with the intent, to give contentment to God. That it should be an appeasement before God on your behalf. As this is why you're bringing this peace offering, you should be mindful of that, right? That God should have appeasement over you on your behalf. If you will have another thought that invalidates with regard to this offering, it will not be appeased for you.
What are you referring to?
1 second. In other words, when you brought this, right, offering, this peace offering, and you thought you're going to eat it in 3 days from now, right? That's what your thought was. That invalidates it. Because you're having a thought, a mindfulness of some beyond the time period of when you are able to eat it, right? It will not appease to you lefanai before me. In other words, when you're slaughtering the animal, you need to be mindful of what you're eating this for, when you're eating it, right? Right. So if this is a peace offering, let's say, then you thought it was a sin offering, and that you're going to eat it in 3 days from now. Both things invalidate, right? Let's say you thought it was a peace offering, but you're going to eat it in 3 days. Also invalidates because it's not in the proper time. In other words, trying to appease for you. The root word is ratzain in Old French, apaisement. Psh. That's a simple meaning. But our sages learn from him that when you are performing with holy things and you are unintentional in your act, the act makes it invalid. That you have to have the right intention when you slaughter. Right. Yeah. Needs intentionality. That it should be. Yeah. Okay. Verse number 6. Huh? Okay. Oh, right. On the day of your slaughtering, it should be eaten. And the day after. And the leftovers. This is leftovers, right? Leftovers you can eat the next day. But the follow I don't know, my wife said leftovers from Shabbos, I'm still eating. My wife, her stuff is even holier. Actually, no, it's not as holy because holiness means you have restriction. Holiness, by definition, means restriction. There's no restriction.
So it's not holy? Is that what you're saying?
It's not as holy because the more holy, the more restriction, right? Yom Kippur is the holiest day. Yeah, Kohen Gadol is the holiest person, right? So it's only more restriction. Only one person, only one day can go in, right? So the more holy something is, the more restrictive it is. Okay, Rashi. So on the third day, if there's leftovers, you got to burn it. Rashi in 6. On the day, it must be eaten on the day of the slaughter. When you slaughter it, you shall slaughter it with the intent. That's the point over here.
We just said that, no?
Yeah, but eating it within this time period, that I've already fixed for you. Yes. Yeah, but this is adding now that if you didn't think this, then you have to burn it.
Okay.
7. And if it is eaten on the third day, it is pigul, contemptible, and it will not be accepted as valid. Rashi in 7. But if it will be in Inyan, if this verse is not applicable to the thought of eating it beyond its time. Which, right, because this was already said, right? Exactly. That if it will be eaten, some of the flesh of the peace offering, so it is applying as a thought of eating outside of his designated place. You might think that you're deserving kares for eating it. The verse says, the soul that eats it shall bear its sin, of it, but not from its that which is related to it. Yata nishpat b'machshavas chusim kaimei.
It's also a place, not just the time. In other words, within the courtyard.
One second. The verse says, "I never show you chedas v'menu abeinu titza mimenu v'lo mechaber." Yata and yishvader v'machshavas chutzim mikaymet. That which is thought about places. Okay, you're saying like this. There's two things. There's space and time, right? So in time, we already learned that what? Huh? If you had in mind when you slaughtered it that you're going to eat it in the third day, right? It's invalid. And if you ate from it, then you're going to get kares.
Wow.
Right? Right?
Mhm.
But what if you had in mind to eat it out of its space? Well, if it's holy of holies, so it would be in the courtyard. If it's holies, then it would be yeah, and then you wouldn't get
Mhm.
kares. Okay?
Oh, okay. The difference between space and time.
Yeah, difference between space and time. So time is more severe. Interesting. Huh?
Let's go to the.
Yeah, that's interesting, huh? Pigul, it's rejected. Metuav repulsive. Kamai omarak pigulin kaleihem. Okay, verse number 8. Okay, let's truck over here, so we might get finished. No, we're not going to get finished. Yeah. Okay. Any who eats it, his sin he will bear. It's he kaddish Hashem chilo, because the holy of God he profaned. And that person will be cut off from his people. That's premature death, right?
Why don't you just cut off Rashi?
No.
Okay.
So whoever eats from it will bear its sin. This is a complete leftovers, right? That we're speaking about over here. Right, that remain uneaten beyond the time that the Torah is said to be eaten. Right.
It's repeating it again.
No. This is This is this is not about the intent now. Previously, it was about when you slaughtered it, the intent that you had, right? If the intent was to eat it on the third day, that's pigul, right? But here it's not about intent. It's the fact that you ate it on the third day, or out of the, that's what we're speaking about over here. Okay. So, so it's speaking about absolutely leftovers. And because that we already know that if it's out of its place that you ate it, that we excluded it from the punishment of kares, of being cut off. This become absolutely leftovers that you ate it. And now there's not the intention. This is in fact that you ate it, right? Leftovers you ate on, right? Wow, now we're going to something completely different, right? From when you reap from your harvest in your land, do not take the corners of your fields, to harvest it. And the gleanings of your harvest that fall from your hand, don't take. Also leftovers. Maybe that's the connection. Leftovers, and this is leftover. Leave over the corners of your field. What? This is for the poor, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a connection. I just thought of it, but you should not finish off the corners of your field. You leave them aside for the poor. The corners of your fields have to be left for the poor. Also, the gleanings of your harvest, stalks that fall away, when you're reaping. There's one or two of them, but three of them that fall away, they're not considered gleanings, and you may gather them. Verse number 10. And your vineyard is a karma. Do not glean. In other words, young grapes. And do not collect individual fallen grapes from your vineyard. They are for the poor and for the convert. Leave them. I'm Hashem your God. Rashi, do not harvest the young grapes. Don't take. The young grapes that are in the vineyard, they are identifiable. What's a young grape? If it doesn't have a shoulder to it, right? It's young means it's not completely ripened, so it doesn't. A grape has a shoulder on the top, right?
Like this shoulder stem attached to
Where the stem is attached to, that part would be a shoulder. It sticks out more. Like your shoulders stick out more. So on the grape also, it sticks out more. It goes like this, right? If it does have a shoulder, then that you could take. But it doesn't have a shoulder means it's not completely ripened. That you're not allowed to take. Leave that. When they fell off. Okay, don't gather the fallen fruit from your vineyard. Single grapes. That fall off the clusters, when they don't pick them up, leave them there for the poor. I am your God. I will exact judgment. I only take payment from you, nothing but lives. It says, do not rob from the poor. Because Hashem will fight their fight and despoil the lives of those that despoil them. Wow. Don't steal, and don't deny falsely. Don't lie. Ish, a person with his people. Don't steal. This is a negative commandment moment that you shouldn't steal money. But that which it says, do not steal, there's a difference that's in the 10 Commandments. That's speaking about a negative commandment to not kidnap, meaning stealing people. Davar Olam and Minyana is that the matter that's learned from its context. Davar Shel Chayv Olam means is basin because when you kidnap, you could get an imposed penalty of death. Do not deny falsely. The fish and Emma, as it says, Kichash Ba, as it says earlier, we had that he denied it. That there you pay the principal plus a fifth. There we learn the punishment. Where do we learn that it's a negative commandment? Do not deny falsely. In other words, before we learned, if you remember, in Parshas, it was in Parshas Vayikra, right? That you should not deny falsely, and this is a punishment. You pay the principal plus a fifth. Okay, but what happens? Who says I can't lie? That's the punishment. Okay, so I'll take the punishment. Here's the verse that tells us, don't deny falsely when you make a claim in court. Yeah. Don't lie. That someone swore falsely. Okay. Same idea. Do not steal and do not deny falsely and do not lie. Right? You shall bear false witness. If you stole, so in the end you're gonna die. He's giving the order of how in the verse. If you're gonna steal, then you're gonna end up denying falsely. But then you're gonna lie. And you will swear falsely. You're just going through the whole verse and how one leads to the other, right? Do not bear false witness in my name. And you will profane the name of God. I am God. Rashi in 12. Not swear falsely. Lam and Emma. Why does it say the Pish and Emma? Because it said, do not take my name in vain. You think you might not be liable swearing falsely in God's name, Ella al Shem but only in the Tetragrammaton. The nine Lerabas, how do we know it includes other names? Called Kinim, all alternative names of God. Talmud Leimer, because the verse says, Lo yisishol b'shmi l'sheker. Here it says, don't bear false witness in my name. Kol shmi shal yeshli, any name that I have. Right? 13. Lois Asher because Re'echav Lois Igzol Isolin Pulas Char Yitzcha Ad Boiker. Do not oppress my fellow. Do not rob. Here it's rob. Before it was thievery. You must. Work it way you should not hold back throughout the night until morning. Rashi in 13. You should not cheat. Anybody who's withholding wages of a hired worker. Should not stay overnight. Lashon Nekevav, feminine verb, Musava Pu'ula on the work. Ad Boiker until the morning. Speaking of hired work of the day during daylight hours. Also that when he departs from his work, when the sun sets, his workday ends at sunset. Therefore, when does he collect his wages? Call a line of the entire night. Elsewhere it says that the sun should not set over him. They should not have to wait until the sunset to collect his wages. So Lila, that's speaking about a worker who works overnight. That he completes his work. When the day breaks in the morning, right? Because he works overnight. When does he collect his wages? The entire day. In other words, you have the 12 hours to pay, right? If you finish by sunset, you have to pay, that by that night. Also, Torah because Torah gives the householder, the employer, time, time period, is to seek money to pay for his, right, to go to the bank, to go if he has to borrow money, whatever it is, he has that time. Last verse, we're going to do it. Do not curse a deaf person. You should not put an obstacle before the blind person. You must fear Hashem. I am God. 14. Don't curse a deaf person. How do I know that not only a deaf person that's forbidden to curse? How do we know it's not all people? Talmud Loimar, the verse says, it says in Exodus, we had this already, that you shall not curse among your people. And it means anybody. So if that's the case, it's not limited to cursing a deaf person. It means everybody. So why is it our verse say acherish? A deaf person, to teach us just the deaf person's distinct quality of being alive. So the prohibition of not cursing in kol chayim means anybody who's alive. Excluding someone who's dead, that's not alive. Then others, if you cursed him, not that you could, but this prohibition doesn't apply. You should not place a stumbling block before the blind. In front of the blind person about a particular matter, meaning don't give advice. So it's not appropriate for him because he's blind and he's coming to you for advice, and don't give him wrong advice. I'll tell him, don't say, sell your field and take a donkey, and you will twist him and take advantage, and you will take his field from him because he bought your donkey. Don't take advantage. Yes, you should have fear of God because this matter people don't know. Leda to know certainly if a person is giving good advice or not, not always so obvious. If the intent of this person is to give bad advice, or is it to give good advice? Or bad. So you might be able to think that you're going to escape the blame. To say, I meant well. That's why it says here, a fear of God. God who knows your thoughts, right? So don't think you're fooling God. Any person who gives over his heart to a person, any active with the intention, it's certainly only by a person who performs it. The ancient and people don't recognize them. Have fear of God. Okay, we did it.
Sure. Good luck, Rick.